Hi everyone, this is Pinchy and I'm here today to talk to you about my experience giving birth, natural birth, without an epidural. Let's get to it. What's up everyone? So welcome back to my channel, Pinchy365. If you haven't subscribed yet, here's a good time to do it. But let's get to it. Today I'm here to talk to you about my experience having a natural birth without an epidural. So a lot of women think about doing this, but they have a lot of questions, and I come across a lot of friends of mine who are curious to know how I did it and how was it. You know, that's the biggest question that I always get. So today I'm going to be sharing with you what happened. If you're thinking about doing it, or if you have a friend that could use this information, stick around, because there's going to be some information that it's definitely going to give you a hint on what I did and what could work for your case as well. The first question that I get when I say that I had a birth experience without an anesthesia is that, does it hurt? Yes, it hurts like a mother, but you can take it. First of all, my threshold for pain is pretty big. I don't normally feel pain as other people do, but even for me it was a little bit hard at the end. But yes, it does hurt, but it's something bearable. You know, you're not gonna die from the hurt. Second question that I get is like, what was it like? Well, having a kid without the use of anesthesia is pretty rewarding. I always thought that I wanted to do it, and for me I saw it as a challenge, like, oh, you know what, I wish I could do this, but I never knew I would be actually able to do it until it happened. So for me it was very rewarding to know that I was able to go through without the anesthesia, and lucky for me I had a perfect birth for the two of my kids. Both of them I spent about less than a couple of hours at the hospital. And of course I was going through counting the contractions at home and timing and everything, but by the time I got to the hospital I was way ahead. The first time was 9 centimeters dilated. The second time I was about 7. So you could tell that, you know, my births were one of the fastest types, and it was very nice. It felt very good to know that I was able to go through with what I planned. Basically, nature and the baby worked out fine in order for me to have these perfect births and have this wonderful experience without having to use anesthesia. Now, why do it without the epidural? Now, this is very personal. In my case is that I didn't want to run the risk. I was very afraid of medical mistakes. You hear all types of different stories about people that, you know, maybe they applied the epidural in the wrong area. I know that the mistakes are very rare, but they still exist. So I was afraid of that. And on the other hand, I always like things to go the natural way, and I thought that would be a way for me to, like, that was my way of doing the birth of my kids, and I'm glad I stuck with it and I went through, because it worked out perfectly for me and both of my babies. Now, of course, there are some downsides, and the disadvantages of having a birth without an epidural is that it hurts, and it's you and the pain. There is nothing in between, and until if you tear, for sure they're gonna fix you up down there, and everything is gonna be as is. There's not gonna be an Advil to help you or anything like that. So that's pretty much the downside. But once the baby is born, let me tell you, like, all that pain, everything is like gone. It pays off to know that, okay, now I don't have to recover from the anesthesia. I'm not gonna have nausea. I'm not gonna be feeling the side effects of the anesthesia, and it was a pretty cool feeling. Now, I see a lot of people talking about why they chose to have a birth like this, but there are not many how they did it. So I'm just gonna share one of my tricks, and actually which I consider it was what got me through the whole process. So when I learned that I was pregnant, I started looking for solutions because I wanted to have the natural birth, and I found online a technique called hypnobirthing. I started reading about it and trying to understand how it works. And basically, this was a lifesaver to me. Even though I knew there was gonna be pain, I was prepared somehow because I learned the techniques. So what is hypnobirthing? So from the little that I know, because I'm very modest on that end, the hypnobirthing is a set of techniques that help you to relax and be mindful and basically get your body and your mind into a meditative state, and that helps you to control the pain. So one of the techniques that I learned, and it was the one that I used throughout both of my birth experiences, was that they would tell you that you should basically mentalize, put in your mind something that brings you to a peaceful place. So let's say that you have a memory from your childhood. You have something that brings you good memories and makes you feel comfortable and relaxed and in the best mindset possible. So the technique is basically that every time that you feel the pain, you feel the contractions, instead of focusing on how painful it is, you would go back to that safe place. So you stayed mentally in that safe place, not only just thinking about it, but basically as just thinking like you were sitting there in that place. So if your happy place is you with your mom, at home, you wouldn't just look at the image of you and your mom at home. You would look at as if you were sitting there. What would you look around? Would you see your mom? Would you see objects and stuff, things that make you feel relaxed? And basically focus your attention entirely on that moment. And I did this, and the results were amazing. Basically, I didn't think it was gonna work at first, but it did. I remember the nurse asking me when we got to, like I said, I got to the hospital. I didn't spend much time in the hospital with my two kids, but my first time with my daughter, they were monitoring the contractions, and she's seeing that in the monitor, and she asks me like, "Are you feeling this?" And I'm like, "Yes." She was like, "You are 9 centimeters dilated, and you're feeling this sort of pain, and you're not even yelling." And I'm like, "No, I'm fine." And I was very thirsty. My husband kept giving me the ice chips, but it was bearable. It was very bearable. Now, to be very frank and honest, there were times in which the pain was excruciating, and those were the times. But the good news is that there were only a few moments of those painful times. So basically, I had my brother-in-law outside, and he said everything was quiet until right before Ariana was born. And then he was like, "You were yelling like there was no tomorrow." So for me, it lasted about a couple of minutes. But you know what? A couple of minutes of yelling, of excruciating pain, it's not that bad to have a baby. Not at all. And not only did I go through with the first birth, I did go through with the second one, which means that, I'm like, this is bearable. I can do this. So at the end of the day, it was the most beautiful experience that I've ever been through, especially with the firstborn. It's something so overwhelming to feel all that pain and to feel that your body has the power to do that, to deliver a baby. And then when they bring the baby to you, when they put the baby in your chest, it's just so rewarding that you forget about the pain. Everything is like, okay, I can do this. And then I decided to do it again. But then again, they bring the baby and everything is fine, everything is wonderful. So my advice throughout this whole experience is that if you're considering having a natural birth without an epidural, definitely look into hypnobirthing. It's all over the internet. You can find blogs, you can find professionals that give their opinion on this. And of course, I mean, nowadays everything, people are talking about mindfulness, and we really don't pay attention, but our mind is very powerful. And if you give it the tools that it needs, it's gonna do the right thing. It's not rocket science. Maybe a little bit of rocket science, but yeah. Now, if you're watching this and thinking like, is it for me? Look, a birth like this, it's not for everybody. My main considerations here would be, know your body, know yourself. If you think you can go through with it, if you think you can bear the pain, if you're a person that has a good threshold for pain, you might be a good candidate. If you've been going through a pregnancy that is non-high risk, no major complications, everything looks fine, then go for it. But if you're not, and really this doesn't have any important standards in your life, then don't do it. Just go for the epidural or go for the C-section if you can choose. The most important thing is that you and your baby are healthy. But I would assume that if you're here, it's because you're interested in having a no epidural birth. Now, what if you try and you can't do it? A friend of mine told me the other day, she was like, you know what, I'm gonna try, I really wanna try. But then she got there and she was like 4 centimeter dilated, things weren't progressing very well, and she was like, you know what, we're gonna opt to go with a C-section. So she did. The baby is wonderful. Mommy is feeling well too. And what I say is, first, you need to count on the assumption that your birth experience is gonna be somewhat normal. But some of the time that doesn't happen, and the one thing you should never do is to feel guilty for not being able to go through with something that you plan for your delivery. It doesn't depend on you. You could plan as much as you want, and at the last minute things are just not looking that good, and mainly you must go with your professional's advice, with your doctor's advice. And if it didn't happen, it wasn't meant to be, and you could always try the next time, or you could just be happy that you and the baby are safe, and that's the most important thing. I happen to have had a good experience, but that doesn't mean that everybody would have such a good experience. Maybe the pain is too much, and it's your right to choose, and don't feel guilty. What matters is that you and the baby are healthy. Alright, so this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click down below and subscribe, and also don't forget to hit the bell. I'll be bringing more information to you guys, and I look forward to seeing you here next time.